Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the 2016 Royal Rumble recap show. My name is Paul Laporte, flying solo today. Mike Miner, my usual partner in crime, unfortunately a bit indisposed today, could not join me, but he did give me his overall thoughts on the card last night, and he actually was, we were watching it together, so I'm just going to give some thoughts that I had from each of the matches, and then the Royal Rumble match overall. Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the 2016 Royal Rumble recap show. My name is Paul Laporte, flying solo. Unfortunately, my partner in crime, Mike Miner, not able to join me, but he did give me his thoughts from last night. We were watching the show together, so I'll kind of act on behalf of the both of us, although our opinions were pretty similar throughout the evening. Let's go ahead and go over the matches, and then we'll talk about the Royal Rumble match, and then what we thought about the card overall as a whole. Starting off with the kickoff match, Jack Swagger and Mark Henry defeated the Ascension, the Dudley Boys, and Damien Sandow and Darren Young. If this kickoff match did not show you that Damien Sandow is still over, I don't know what will. I don't know why WWE takes these people who are clearly at least popular for the time being. You know, maybe Damien Sandow isn't going to be an all-time great and people are going to be behind him all the time, and maybe they're just getting behind him because they never see him and all of a sudden he shows back up. But it's very clear that Damien Sandow is a fan favorite. People want to see more of the guy. They want to see them do something with him, and maybe they don't need to go as far as I did in my episode of Booking a Better Wrestler. But I think that they can do something with this guy. He's a good wrestler. He's charismatic. People clearly get behind him. Just do something with him. But no, they put him in this throwaway match that Jack Swagger and Mark Henry won in this really kind of weird botched finish. So that meant that Jack Swagger and Mark Henry got to be entered into the Royal Rumble. And the Ascension, Dudley Boys, and Sandow and Young, I at least guess, got a payday for wrestling a match, so good for them. But the match itself was pretty inconsequential, especially when you see how the winners did later on in the evening. Alright, so let's start off with the actual pay-per-view, the Last Man Standing match. Dean Ambrose defeating Kevin Owens, retaining his Intercontinental Championship, and screwing up my episode of Booking a Better Wrestler that I have to do for later today, but I'll work around it. This match, we talked about it on the Rumble pre-show, that I was worried that it was going to turn into some jokey bullshit where there was just lots of, like, kind of comedy spots and silly props being used. That wasn't it. This was exactly what it needed to be. My fears were completely unfounded, and this thing lived up to everything it should have been. It was wild, it was violent, it was as violent as it could be in the PG era of WWE. This was probably the best Last Man Standing match that they've had since they couldn't do the blood and the guts and everything. The spot at the end with Kevin Owens going off of the top rope through two tables to the outside looked fantastic, and Dean Ambrose won not because he zip-tied him to the floor or super-glued him to a chair or whatever. He won because he just beat up Kevin Owens so bad that he couldn't stand up anymore. Both these guys came out of this match looking even better than they did before, the Intercontinental title getting a nice prestige boost. This was just a great match all around. It was a fantastic way to start off the show, and it was probably my pick for match of the night. Good job, guys. Congratulations. Great start to the pay-per-view. Okay, moving on to the next match. The New Day defeated the Usos and retained. The New Day are just the greatest thing in the world. There are a lot of people in the internet wrestling community that dislike the New Day for some reason. I think that they're just a little too silly for them, and people like their wrestling to be more serious or whatever. Okay, fine. But the New Day are just so smart and comedic, and their jokes and their timing and their beats are perfect. The debut of the newest member of the New Day, Francesca 2, was really funny. Xavier Woods saying that he had needs, that he was a man who had needs and he couldn't mourn forever. It was just fantastic because they take these tropes and these things that you see not just in professional wrestling, but you see on television, and then they just kind of lampoon them. And they're just really, really good satirists all the way around. The ending to this match was fantastic, with the Usos going for a top rope splash of Jimmy or Jay, I don't know which one, and then out of nowhere, Big E just intercepts him, hits him with the big ending, pins him. New Day gets the clean win here, the relatively clean win. I mean, there was a little bit of shenanigans from Xavier Woods, but the actual ending was just the New Day being a good tag team, and they are. They're a fantastic tag team. These guys work better together than maybe any other group or stable I've seen in a really long time because they just play off each other. These guys are just, they're alchemists. They're genius. They take things that you don't think should work, and then they spin them into gold. They took this group that they were saddled with, which was just really bad and borderline racist, and turned it into literally the best thing on television. You know, I have a New Day shirt. I have a bright blue shirt with 3 guys riding unicorns and playing a trombone on it. I did not think I was going to own that shirt this time last year. These guys are amazing. They're fantastic. WWE needs to walk the fine line with them, though, and let them continue to do their thing without overexposing them. And I think that WWE sometimes runs the risk of ruining a good thing because they see potential in it, and then they just pound you over the head with it until you don't like it anymore. I just hope that they just kind of continue to do what they're doing with the New Day and let them just be the cornerstone of the tag team division and let all the other teams come up and play around them. They're just fantastic. Okay, I'm done gushing about the New Day, but still, 2 for 2 as far as good matches. A great last man standing match, a great tag team championship match, and this momentum continued with the United States Championship match. Kalisto defeating Alberto Del Rio, gets the victory, wins his United States Championship, his second title reign, his first lasting all of a day. Hopefully this one lasts longer. The match was good. These guys played well against each other. There was a few moments that there was some loose, sloppy spots. Obviously the botched Code Red, the backstand to Code Red that Kalisto tried attempting but landed on his face was incredibly frightening. Fortunately, he was fine, and the match went through without a hitch. Oh, by the way, going back to the tag match, I just did want to mention quickly, there was one spot in that tag match which either was a botch or a really brilliantly improvised move, and if it was a botch, it was the best recovery from a botch that's ever existed. If you go back and watch this, and like I said, if you didn't catch it before, it's actually worth going back and looking at because it was really perfectly done to the point where I genuinely cannot tell if this was a mistake or not. When one of the Usos was trying to super kick Kofi Kingston, and Kofi Kingston at the same time threw a spinning back kick, and their legs connected, and then Kofi followed through and caught the Uso's leg and brought him. I'm going to say it's Jimmy Uso. You're not going to bother to correct me. He caught Jimmy Uso's leg and brought him down to the ground, at which point Big E splashed his back. It looked like both of them were going for kicks and just didn't communicate to each other who was supposed to be doing what. And if that's the case, then like I said, it was the most brilliantly improvised move because it looked awesome, and I've literally never seen anything like that before. And if it was planned, even better. It just shows that these guys can do things that you still haven't seen after all this time. Okay, sorry. Back to the United States Championship match. Had a few miscommunications in it, but I don't mind those. I don't mind, like, slip-ups or botches or things not looking perfectly in a wrestling match, because it's supposed to look like a fight. It's supposed to be 2 guys fighting each other, and that doesn't always look like a stunt scene out of a movie. So I'm fine when that happens, as long as, you know, you recover from it well, and you don't just try and pretend like it never happened. You follow through with it, you improvise. That's what these guys were able to do. Kalisto getting the win with the Salida del Sol, finishing off Alberto Del Rio, getting the U.S. Championship back. All I can say is I hope this is the end of this feud and Kalisto moves on to somebody else. WrestleMania is coming. Kalisto versus Neville is a fucking money match. Build to that. Build to those 2 guys. Move Alberto Del Rio on to something else. The question is that what do you do with him? Honestly, I don't really care. I'm not that big of an Alberto Del Rio fan, especially in WWE. I liked his work as Alberto El Patron in Lucha Underground much more. But if you just do anything else with him, just get him out of this U.S. title scene. Let Kalisto move on to some fresh opponents. Neville. This is the guy you should build him against. That's the match you should have at WrestleMania. And I hope Kalisto has a long reign. He deserves it. It's nice to see a young guy with a chance and a real spot. Somebody new, somebody fresh. Keep him out of the Lucha Dragons when Sin Cara comes back. Maybe have them wrestle each other for the belt in, like a sportsman-like way. Every tag team doesn't need to end with a blood feud. It could just be like I did with my Booking a Better Wrestler episode of Titus O'Neil. It could just be, hey, man, I like you, we're partners, but I kind of want to do my own thing now, so I'm going to go do this, and good luck to you. They could do it that way. There's just a lot of matches that you can put Kalisto against, but again, Neville should be the first guy. Okay, moving on to the Divas Championship match, Charlotte retaining against Becky Lynch. This match was good, fine, okay, with a couple exceptions, and those exceptions almost exclusively involved Ric Flair. First of all, you had the spot early on in the match, the distraction spot where Charlotte and Becky were feuding on the outside, and then Flair grabs Becky Lynch and kisses her. It felt really out of place and weird and creepy, and I just really, really didn't like that. I would have been better with it if after he did it, she just nailed him and leveled him, but she didn't. She just kind of staggered off and let Charlotte, take the advantage. It bothers me because that's not a spot you would see in a guy's match. Like, you wouldn't see Lana just randomly grabbing a guy and kissing them or whatever, or maybe that's a bad example, but I don't know. It took me kind of back to that weird, creepy place that women's matches used to exist in, and that's not what these two should be doing. And I think it just... I know Ric Flair is supposed to be a heel, and that's supposed to be a scummy thing, but that doesn't really play off as something like a scummy guy would do. Like, you can almost hear, some of the dudes kind of, cheering for it or whatever. I don't know. All right, I'm going to put my social justice warrior cap off. I'm going to take that off, and then move on to the other spot at the end of the match that I really disliked, when Becky had Charlotte lock, stock, and barrel in the disarmer, had it cinched in, Charlotte's nowhere near the ropes, and then Flair decides to use Becky Lynch as a coat rack, and then Becky Lynch then proceeds to become the stupid babyface because she decides to break the hold and take the coat off and confront Ric Flair, and that's when Charlotte ambushes her and gets the pin. I hated this. I hated it so much because it makes Becky Lynch look like a gigantic dope. If you have the champion in a title match that you're challenging for just dead to rights, you are not going to... I don't care if somebody throws a coat over my face. I'm not letting go of it. I don't care. I would have been better if Ric Flair just came to the ring and just straight up attacked her and just gave Charlotte the DQ loss, but had her retain the title. At least that would have had more of an impact instead of making Becky Lynch look like a giant dope. I really did not like that. And it's just one of those things that WWE does that it feels like, well, we don't want to put the belt on Becky Lynch yet, but we don't want her to lose clean, so we have to think of some bullshit ending, and that's what they did. And I thought it put a damper on what was a good match and what was, up till that point, kind of a perfect run of booking throughout the evening. However, that booking was saved by the end of the match when Sasha Banks comes out and starts to declare herself clearly the next challenger for Charlotte's Divas Championship. She comes out and just boots Becky Lynch's ass out of the ring, which she should do. That's who Charlotte is. She just, get out of my ring. It's my show now. She even said something as much when she did that. And then you have this moment between Charlotte and Sasha where it's like, oh, is it a BFFs reunion? And they sort of teased it and did it, and then Sasha basically made Charlotte believe, like, hey, I'm on your side, maybe you can give me a shot at this thing, and then Charlotte's, you could tell by the expression of Charlotte, like, maybe I'll think about it, and then Sasha was just like, nope, and just grabbed her, hit her with the bank statement, yanked on it brutally. If there has ever been a women's wrestler that was legitimately over because of her abilities more than Sasha Banks, I don't know if I've seen it. The crowd was super into her. They're super into the fact that Sasha is finally stepping up, taking her rightful position in that division. She didn't come out with Team Bad. She came out by herself. She's going to show that she is the best wrestler in that division. The match between Charlotte, which they'll presumably build to Mania, is going to be very good. I still personally think that Sasha and Becky would have been a better match. But I think that this is going to be good. I'm going to be interested to see, though, how they play the dynamic of two heels going against each other, because Sasha clearly still a heel, still has heel tendencies, but Charlotte is a heel as well. I hope they don't do some sort of terrible face turn for Charlotte again. Just play it out in an interesting and creative way, and take this gold that you have with Sasha Banks and do not ruin it. WWE, please do not ruin it. Okay, so lastly, we have the Royal Rumble match. Let's go ahead and just kind of go over the big things that happened. First of all, AJ Styles debuting at number 3 was great. Everybody was super excited. If WWE was worried that nobody was going to know who AJ Styles was, hopefully those fears were quelled last night, because the Orlando crowd loved him. He got a huge ovation, and Twitter just went nuts when he showed up. So WWE, I know you had those video packages, and if you want to still do them, fine, but you don't need them. People know who AJ Styles is. People know who AJ Styles is. They don't need a reminder, and AJ did a great job in this Rumble match. I like the fact early on that they kind of played him versus Roman. People would come in, and then they would just toss them out, and then we're back to AJ versus Roman. I think maybe you'll probably hear some people complaining that AJ got beat up too much or took too much offense from, people of the likes of like Ryback and Kane and things like that. But honestly, I'm okay with that. The Royal Rumble is a wild match. Everybody's kind of beating up everybody else. And AJ Styles, one of his best characteristics is getting beat up. He's really good at selling. He makes things look brutal. So to not use that, it doesn't make him look weak. It's just who he is. That's who Shawn Michaels was. Shawn Michaels was never the guy who was going to show up and kick everybody's ass. He was going to show up, get beat up for most of the match, and then still pull it out because he's just better than the people who are bigger and stronger than him. And that was another thing. AJ Styles' size. Did he look smaller than a lot of the guys? Yeah, but I don't think that's a problem. He's good. People know he's good, and when you're good, size can overcome that. So I hope that AJ Styles is going to have a very prominent role in WWE. This seems like a very good start. Now, obviously, he was eliminated by Kevin Owens, which, again, maybe some people complain about. Maybe they wanted to see AJ go to the end, or at least go deeper than he did, even though he was in there for a good half hour at least. But getting eliminated by Kevin Owens is really good, because that sets up a feud, and that sets up a feud that's going to be very good. Obviously, AJ is not going to be happy that he got tossed by Kevin Owens. He's going to probably try and look for some amount of revenge, either on Raw or SmackDown or some point, and if that builds to a WrestleMania match between Kevin Owens and AJ Styles, holy shit, I'm for it. Speaking of Kevin Owens, the other big surprise entry in the evening, Sami Zayn comes out shortly after Kevin Owens tosses AJ Styles. Those two brawl like crazy, like they should anytime they see each other, and Sami Zayn eliminated Kevin Owens. I also want to mention that Kevin Owens and Dean Ambrose both came out looking haggard from their last man standing match, which is good. I'm glad that they both sold that. I think Kevin sold it well on the way to the ring, but then when he got there, he kind of dropped it, which, okay, it's fine, whatever, you can make the excuse of adrenaline pumping. Dean Ambrose kind of did the same thing, but at least they acted like they had been in a fight earlier on in the evening. And Sami Zayn eliminated Kevin Owens, and now that's the thing, though, is that if you're going to build to a feud between Kevin Owens and AJ Styles, are you going to do something between Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens? I mean, if you want to make that WrestleMania match a triple threat between those three, again, super for that, you go right ahead. Other notable things that happened, the Kofi Kingston elimination spot, which, the false elimination spot where he was caught by Big E and hoisted on his shoulders and then proceeded to snack for a few minutes, and then was eliminated at some point by Chris Jericho, but we didn't notice, or at least we didn't see it initially, because we were too busy watching the awful League of Nations Roman Reigns table spot. And the reason I call this awful is because it made everybody involved look bad, except for Rusev, who walked off with the TV monitor and later declared himself the TV champion on Twitter, which was hilarious. Everybody else looked so awful coming through this. First of all, everybody in my house was annoyed that, we're not watching the Rumble match anymore. We're watching Roman Reigns fight a bunch of guys who aren't even in the match right now. So that was bad. You took the focus off of the most important, what should be the most important thing. You took it off the Rumble match. Second thing, Roman Reigns looked like crap because this was supposed to be one versus all, and he wasn't in 75% of the match, or 50% at most of the match. He just wasn't there. Nobody buys the stretcher spot anymore. We know why you're doing this, is to just give him time to rest and maybe prevent injury or do whatever, or just take the focus off him for so long in the match. It looked awful, and finally, it made the League of Nations and Vince McMahon look incredibly stupid because, oh great, they team up on Roman Reigns, they put him through this table, and instead of just tossing him back in the ring so somebody could just get the easy elimination and then, hey, Roman's not your champ anymore, they just leave him there. They just leave him there to come back in whenever he wants. It just made them look so incredibly stupid. If this was Lucha Underground and this was Dario Cueto and the crew doing this, they would have thrown the person back in to have somebody else toss him out, or they would have just tossed him themselves, and then that would have been that. But no, they had to just leave him there, so everybody knew immediately what was going to happen. It's like, oh, Roman Reigns gets to take a break. Roman Reigns does not look good, does not look strong, and my usual partner, Mike Miner, made this mention while we were watching this. He doesn't look strong by sitting out half the match. He looks like a bitch. That's a heel tactic to be gone for that long. And they just kind of, they hurt him so much, and they try and make him look so strong, but they just make him look worse and worse. It would have been better if you just had him in the Rumble match actually fighting people and actually dealing with adversity, rather than have him chilling in back eating catering or doing whatever until it was time for him to show up towards the end. You had Brock Lesnar come in. Brock Lesnar ended up getting eliminated by the Wyatt family, which I'm fine with. Brock is obviously somebody who is always going to have his name in title contention, but they're clearly wanting to do something with him and the Wyatts, so I'm fine with the way he was eliminated. I just hope that this doesn't lead to another burial of Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania, because he just always seems to lose when it comes time to have the important matches. The Wyatt family looked good throughout the whole thing. I like the story that Brock ended up eliminating them before Bray got there, but it doesn't matter. The Wyatt family doesn't play by the rules. So Brock gets tossed and Bray Wyatt stays in. And then we get to our last quote-unquote big surprise of the evening. Entrant number 30, Triple H, which I predicted on the pre-show, which was the least impressive prediction ever, because it was incredibly obvious it was going to happen. Triple H comes out, and I'm actually kind of surprised that they had him in that match for so long and had him interacting with the other guys. I really do like the fact that when it came time for Triple H to face off with Bray Wyatt, Triple H tried to kind of direct Bray Wyatt towards Roman Reigns, which, I mean, that makes sense. Those two have feuded forever, but in something that I was surprised that they did and actually makes more sense, Bray just kind of smiled and then started beating up Triple H, because Bray Wyatt is supposed to be an anarchist. He is supposed to hate authority. He is supposed to be an agent of chaos. And there is nobody who represents order and authority more than Triple H. So it makes sense that Bray would want to try and attack him to, quote unquote, take down the system, or whatever cliche you want to use. I'm glad that they did that. However, what I'm not glad that they did was kind of the rest of the match. Chris Jericho went really deep, like surprisingly deep, like 45 minutes in, and it was one of those things where I think this return that Jericho's had has been just bad and not very entertaining, and it's just every time he comes back, it just kind of diminishes him a little bit more and more. But this actually kind of had a reverse effect, where as the Rumble was going on and going on and going on, and you get down to the last, few people, it's almost like, you know what? I would rather can we just put the belt on Jericho instead of doing whatever you're planning on doing? Because I'd be fine with that. But they didn't. Jericho gets tossed, and then instead of being eliminated last, Roman gets tossed out second to last, leaving us with Triple H and Dean Ambrose. Again, WWE loves to do this thing where they tease that something really cool could happen, and then they don't pay it off. Everybody was really hoping, like, oh man, we could see Ambrose eliminate Triple H, and we could see something that we didn't expect. I mean, maybe some people said that Ambrose was going to win the World Heavyweight title, but Nobody really expected it, and hey, maybe he'll win the World Heavyweight title, and he'll be World Heavyweight Champion and Intercontinental Champion, and away we go. And nope, just this really bad elimination spot where Dean Ambrose is pretty, has the upper hand on Triple H, and then Triple H just knees him once, just kind of dumps him over, and then Triple H is your goddamn World Heavyweight Champion. And Johnny Patches, who did the Royal Rumble pregame show with us, said he was fine with this on Twitter or on Facebook. God, I'm not fine with this. I hate the concept of Triple H as your world champion, especially in the fact that there wasn't really any shenanigans. Like when Vince McMahon won the Royal Rumble in 99, it was because, he sat out 90% of the match and he had all this extra help and all this other shenanigans. That didn't happen here. It was just kind of Triple H being the best wrestler, which in the current climate of WWE should not be happening ever. You have AJ Styles in there, you have Dean Ambrose, you have all these young, good, exciting wrestlers, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, all of these people in there, and you basically just say, nope, it doesn't matter. None of you are as good as me. My old 47-year-old ass or 46-year-old ass, whatever he is still better than all of you. And this right here is why I don't believe that WWE is going to get magically better when Vince McMahon retires or dies or whatever. This right here, and don't tell me that this wasn't Triple H's idea, or at least that he had some hand in it. It's a bad idea, and he could have shot it down if he wanted to. He didn't. He gets to hold the belt again, potentially to main event WrestleMania, and that is not the spot that Triple H should be in. You know what? If he wants to still wrestle, he's still in good shape, he still seems to be able to go, fine, I don't care. But don't put the goddamn title on him. There's no reason for it. He doesn't need the title. Your title should go on somebody who is going to be the main focus of your show, and the main focus of your show should not be a 46-year-old man when you have the best roster you've ever had in the entire company's history. It should not be that way. It should not happen that way. But look, again, it did, and I'm getting angrier and angrier as I say this, because this was a great card and a good Rumble match, and it ended like crap. You could have done 100 different things. You could have had AJ Styles win it. You could have had Bray Wyatt get a surprise win. You could have put it on Dean Ambrose. You could have, fine, have Roman retain or something. Okay, whatever. At least he's a young guy and he wrestles full time. You could have had surprise entrant corporate lackey Finn Balor, who's, Triple H's best buddy on Instagram or whatever. He's Triple H's boy, debut and be an agent of the corporation. And that could have been your ending, and people would have been fine with that. But no, you have to do just the most rote, basic thing that's supposed to be a shock. And when Triple H came out at number 30 and Michael Cole was like, oh my god, I can't believe it's Triple H. Really? I mean, for Christ's sakes, this was a surprise that was so predictable that it was put in Vegas betting odds. Vegas pro wrestling betting odds, when bookies who have a cursory knowledge of professional wrestling know what you're going to do with your product that's supposed to be your big surprise. That's bad. That's a bad thing. Don't do that. And it just makes me angry that this was a good show, and this could have gone down as one of the better pay-per-views that they've had in recent memory, and they just crapped it at the end. They just killed the ending. I hate this. I hate the fact that they have a 46-year-old guy who doesn't wrestle half the time is now your best wrestler in the company. It's just, really frustrating. Really frustrating. And it put a damper on what was an otherwise really good card. And that's it. I'm just going to continue to ramble on if I don't end it here. So that's going to wrap it up. Hope you enjoyed this recap show. Be sure to check out our other content. We're going to have a bunch of new stuff going up today, as a matter of fact. I think this is going to be the first thing I put up today, but we're going to have another episode of Booking a Better Wrestler going up today. We're going to have the debut of a new show called Time Warp, which is going to take a look at professional wrestlers from one era and how they would do in another era. The first episode is going to be how Ricky Steamboat would do today if he was just a new wrestler that showed up. That was a lot of fun to record. We're going to be doing more of those probably every Monday. We're also going to have another episode of Changing the Questions up tomorrow. We're going to have a bunch of stuff coming up in the coming days, so be sure to stay tuned to the channel. If you like what you're hearing, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube if you're listening to this here. We're hoping to get to like 50 subscribers by the end of the month. I just want to keep the momentum going, and be sure to tell your friends about this if they haven't heard about it, and if you like what you're hearing. If you want to leave any feedback, be sure to send it to us at changingthequestions@gmail.com, or you can send us something on Twitter. You can do that at changingtheqs, which is at changingtheqs. Also be sure to like us on Facebook. Just search for Changing the Questions there. And again, our YouTube page is kind of our hub for everything. It's kind of our main base. If you want to check out all of our archives of all the stuff we've done, be sure to head on over to there. You can check out everything, all old recaps, all old Changing the Question episodes, Booking a Better Wrestler episodes, things like that. Hope you guys are enjoying this stuff. Again, thank you so much for listening, and see you soon. Bye.